Alright, making a video. Brain one again. 4, I guess. I don't know what the title will be. I don't know if it needs a new title, so maybe just call it part 4. See brain run. Alright, so anyway, the Steen Peterson. Anyway, did a comment, and it's just annoying, so I deleted it, of course, but I kept it here for responsing. And with a lot of typing, blah blah blah, but just just snarky crap, and I don't have to take that. I don't go on other people's videos and just type snarky crap, so I say fuck you to that. It's my definition of civil behavior. Make a video, do something else. I don't have to indulge that graffiti on my videos. Anyway, and I'm certainly not going to type a response to you. Sorry, no sale. Anyway, so he says, how does consciousness, understood as merely an effect of brain activity, disprove the necessity of the value element, you ask? So I would have wrote that differently. I would have put that in quotes. But anyway, that's not what I said exactly, but I made an argument explaining it. I called it the mixing bowl. It's the title of the video. I said consciousness is a mixing bowl. That's what it's needed for. The thing, feelings and concepts and symbolic representations and any other kind of junk the brain makes, to do the interacting, those players need to be mixed somewhere. And they can't be mixed in a place where you don't have consciousness, and I would argue for the obvious reason that unconscious feelings wouldn't really be feelings. Duh. Anyway, for something to have a function, it must be more than just an effect, says you. It has to cause something else to happen. Well, yes, cause and effect. Causes cause effects. Effects are causes. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe. It must do something. Well, again, I already pointed that out. I called it a mixing bowl. Mixing bowls do something. They provide a place for things to be mixed, for ingredients to be put in and mixed. You don't get that concept that that's a do? And if you don't have a mixing bowl, that somehow you pour the flour in, you pour the water in, and it just ain't going to mix without the bowl. Alright, it must do something. We both agree that consciousness doesn't do anything. Well, we don't agree in the sense that I clearly am saying it does something, but it does something structural. It does something, it performs a function that is not the primary function, like the arena and the gladiators. The gladiators are doing something. The arena isn't really doing anything, but without the arena, the gladiators can't gladiate. Alright, therefore, consciousness cannot be a necessary. That is my logical argument. It's, again, not typed very well. And again, I would argue that's not a logical argument. To tell me that unconscious feelings, okay, that I could experience something called unconscious torture, and it would mean torture. Be they equal. Torture in a conscious brain is the same as torture in an unconscious state. And I guess I would argue that that would be silly. That I clearly, if I had to choose one, I would certainly choose torture in the unconscious state. It seems that might be a winner. And certainly if I was going to have some kind of equation where I was going to experience some sort of conscious discomfort in exchange for somebody's unconscious discomfort, whatever that would be, or however you could possibly manifest discomfort unconsciously, clearly I would be inclined to say, well, shit, my feelings are conscious ones, so they've got to take precedent. They've got to be more important than silly unconscious ones. So yes, go ahead and torture a bunch of people unconsciously to avoid harming me in some lesser manner consciously. Alright. Yes, I'm probably stupid. Oh, there we go. Otherwise, I wouldn't care to comment on your videos. So that's the sort of a snarkyism. Yes, I would just say that, yes, I'm probably stupid. What confirms that, I would argue, is the same kind of argument as your silly unconscious feelings matter argument. Yes, that conclusion is just as dumb. It has nothing to do with you watching my videos that you comment. You comment because you're a putz. Anyway, but even for a stupid guy, consciousness, but even, there's no punctuation here, but even for a stupid guy, it seems just a little bit illogical to state like you do that consciousness does not do anything. Well, again, the title of the video is Brain Run to the Mixing Bowl. And then the whole video was explaining how the manifestation of feelings is a primary function here that you have to account for. That's what consciousness is doing. It's consciousness of good and evil. Awareness of good and evil is derived through the sensing of a feeling, and that you have to taste it to know it. There's no other way to know what a feeling is other than to have one, to sample it. I've used this in arguments with Hothliday years ago even. It is probably years by now. A year anyway. You have to taste it. That's how you know it. You taste bad, so to speak. And I mean taste in the sense of sample. You have to sample bad to know what bad is. And that's what consciousness provides, is a mechanism for sampling. But it's still a necessary for us. Needing something that doesn't do anything, that's a proper sentence. Needing something that doesn't do anything, period. Anyway, again, I can't state that there's no way you can interpret the video as me saying consciousness doesn't do anything, because the whole point of the video was to state that consciousness provides a mechanism to make real, okay, a sense of bad. How can you feel without consciousness, you ask? Cool, there I go. Yes, very good. Thank you. Of course you can't. Well, there you go. But since we are conscious and we feel, it's reasonable to think there must have been some environmentally beneficial, evolutionary, okay. It's reasonable to think there must have been some evolutionary benefit from being conscious, as you claim there is. Duh. But in order for consciousness to provide some kind of advantage to us, it has to be doing something. Well, again, I can't, it's in the title of the video. To say mixing bowls aren't needed is stupid. And I don't know what that would be. It's in the title of the video, because you don't know if anyone else but me is really conscious or just great simulators. Well, again, you could say, I don't know you're not Martians, or I don't know you're not Plutonians, or I don't know you're not Neptunians. I think I do, beyond reasonable speculation. I'd have to speculate unreasonably, in my opinion, to believe something other. And for me to believe the other humans aren't conscious would require unreasonable fairy tale telling. I mean, I might as well just make up wicked witches and gingerbread people. Of course, I assume that you are all conscious out there. Well, you just don't assume it. You have good reason to believe it. So again, that's more playing with words to say I assume something when there's a ton of evidence demonstrating it. Seems kind of a stupidly weak game to play with words. But how can I really know? Well, again, how can you really know that the water that comes out of the faucet isn't pure dioxin? Or how can you really know the air you're breathing isn't full of radiation? How can you really know you're not going to get hit by a meteor tomorrow? Well, because you can know statistics and probabilities, and it just isn't likely. Is there anything you ever do? Well, again, I do, okay, because I use a reasonable standard. I don't sit around going, because I can't absolutely prove something to 0.0000000, a million squared zeros, because I can't validate something to some sort of absolute perfection, doesn't mean that I can easily meet the burden of reasonableness. There's no reasonable evidence indicating fraud or deception. There's lots of evidence countering such a thing, such a conspiracy, such a fake. Okay, lots of reason, lots of good rational facts to base the conclusion that it would be silly to think there's any probability that the other humans on Earth are not doing substantially what my brain is doing, which is feeling and thinking and such. And since I can't ever be sure that consciousness is present, what is its use? Well, again, you're saying that something can behave like a human being without consciousness. That's the very argument I'm disputing. I'm saying you don't have any evidence of that. You don't have any evidence you could make one of those. You might be able to make something that could duplicate human, mimic it fairly easily, because humans are pretty much silly assholes. But there's no evidence that anybody's been able to do that yet either. Absolutely no evidence that somebody's made a very good Turing machine or something. So what the fuck? I should speculate. Why don't you just believe in God again, silly man? I mean, why bother trying to elevate yourself out of a toilet of ignorant, delusionary, imaginary thinking if you're just going to drift back there eventually anyway? Yes, I have to taste good and bad to know good and bad. Well, you're conceding my point. But why do you have to taste and know this? Well, you just agreed and now you ask the question why. Yes, I have to taste good and bad to know good and bad, but why do I have to taste and know this? I'm saying because you need a reference, and you won't behave the same way. So we're arguing about circumstance in, behavior out. What I'm arguing is if I don't believe there's suffering, then I'm not going to act. If I think the conscious suffering is unconscious suffering, I'm not going to act. So it won't be circumstance in, behavior out. The behavior will change if my understanding of the circumstance, is changed, because now I don't have anything to connect it to in terms of an understanding of some real problem. The problem won't be real anymore. Imagine that some UFO landed on Earth and some beings, robots, we couldn't really tell, came out of it. How would you determine whether they were conscious or not? Why would I have to determine it would be my first question. I could just ask them, what's the nature of your function? Okay, are you harassed by some sort of notion of attraction and repulsion? Do you know it as something that is, I could come up with, obviously this is off the top of my head. I would construct these questions more carefully if I was actually getting into this conversation. But I'm sure you could get to the point of whether they are actually sensing an imperative, or whether they're just programmed and they just say, No, the Borg, programmed me. I just do the Borg thing. I don't really give a shit one way or the other. I have no personal stake. Can't hurt me any. You're going to hurt the Borg. Yeah, I just do what I'm told. Can you imagine anything in their behavior that they could never be programmed to do without being conscious? Again, I would say that they're not going to be able to understand our sensitivity, our vulnerability, the nature of our consciousness, the nature of what torture means, or any of that stuff. So yes, their behavior would not be rational to the existing circumstance. So if they didn't have the ability to feel, they wouldn't have a capacity to understand and empathize with the creation of suffering and its negative nature, and therefore they might not behave in any way respecting that the earthly carbon units can be in a state mentally that is intrinsically and fundamentally negative, because they are consciously experiencing something called torture, and they'll know what torture is. Say that they have very advanced sensors to protect their bodies from harm. And so they have just very advanced sensors to protect their bodies from harm, so it makes them an amoeba, maybe. What acid shoots out. So they have a reflex that shoots acid if something touches them. How is this very elaborate sensor, is it going to have any intelligence at all? And what would its intelligence be based on? Don't burn the sensitive creatures, or is it just going to say burn anything and everything? I'm just saying, if it doesn't know pain and suffering, if it doesn't know real harm, then why wouldn't its sensors just say shoot everything first and don't ask questions ever? If you burned one of them with a torch, its thermal sensor would send signals to its neural network that something was damaging its arm, and the being would maybe punch you right in the face or run screaming. Why would it scream? We have to assume it could feel then, to avoid further damage. So again, if you're going to make it a feeling thing, then it can understand feelings. But if you're not going to make it a feeling thing, I don't think it can understand much. And so all it could do is reflexively react like some sort of mechanical robot. Maybe it screamed in order to cause some kind of sympathy or fear in you. Well, again, that would be an acknowledgement that it understood what feelings were, and it really can't understand them if it never had one, so you can't make that argument. It would be conceding the existence of something it can't concede the existence of. But there wouldn't have to be any consciousness in there or any value involved. Well, again, you can argue that it can mimic in some way sympathetic behavior, but first it would have to see it to mimic it. It couldn't inspire it out of its own understanding. It would have to sit there and contrive it out of some sort of, like, let's try to display, let's try to let's watch human beings and mimic them, not in any real way, like coherent to what they're doing, just in the rawest way. So I would argue that still they're going to misinterpret why we scream, or why we cry, or why we do anything, and that misinterpretation will eventually create incoherent behavior. Just censoring and programmed reactions to do that. Well, again, you're just talking about something doing something crude. You're not talking about something doing something sophisticated. You're certainly not talking about something fooling me in a conversation. So it's not even up to a Turing machine. You're just talking about a dumb robot that mimics a couple of human behaviors. I mean, they have dogs, made in Japan, talking little toy dogs that can do that. I should be impressed. No motivation or meaning anything or value judgments are needed, just hardware, software, and electricity. Well, again, that wasn't the argument here. The argument is, can you make an AI that way? And what I'm saying is you can't. And that's the trick of this thing, is that if you're going to create something that's going to learn, you have to create an intrinsic system of reward and punishment. Basically punishment and then reward, removal of punishment. And until you have that system, you won't have any mechanism to validate correct behavior and therefore make it in any way educatable. Alright, the swearing and not very adult behavior you demonstrate all the time when you run out of arguments. Well, that's just, like I said, that's just another one of your wrong assumptions because you're ignorant. First off, I never run out of arguments, and I demonstrate that over and over again. That's what I demonstrate all the time, asshole. Unlike you, I don't say stupid things like you say. Okay, I don't say things I can't logically defend. And you can't logically defend the meaning of the unconscious feeling, shithead. How an unconscious feeling is still a real feeling. No, it isn't. Is it an attempt to convince your subscribers or yourself that you are right? You think? Question mark. Well, again, I demonstrate that I'm right by having better arguments than you, you little cunt weasel. And right here I've proven that again. You're totally making a nonsensical argument. You can't even read the title of the fucking video. You can't paraphrase the video correctly. The video was obviously kept saying over and over again that consciousness is necessary to being able to taste for realsies, good and bad, and that you have to have a reference. If you don't have a reference sample, you can't do any measuring. You haven't defeated that argument anywhere in this slop, you fuck. Frankly, I imagine that many people out there who really try to contribute to your videos over the years often end up feeling like feeding a donkey with oysters. Well, whatever that means, and I don't give a fuck. Alright, because most of you ragheads are useless shitheads. I mean, you show up in my videos saying, look, I could go take your old comments, couldn't I? Your old sycophant type comments, and I could just redisplay those and demonstrate that you're the one that showed up here, okay? You know, babbling, praises. And did I say, oh, how wonderful, thank you very much? No, because I suspect that most of you assholes are assholes. You don't have any real deep understanding of anything. And so this superficial, you're pleased at this one moment, is going to wear off sooner or later, and your religious country will come flowering back eventually. You'll be making some kind of silly jackass argument like this crap again, where I don't know for what reason why you think, okay, the universe provides tons of evidence that intelligence just rises out of the muck, and it doesn't. Clearly, planet Earth, 4 billion years of evolution, and there's only one organism doing it with vocabulary. One. Asshole. Big intelligence is problematic, and you don't want to think so because you want to believe it's out there, waiting to shake your hand or something. Is it really so impossible for you just to stick to the subject and accepting? Huh? I'm the one always on the subject, cunt. You're the one who can't figure out what's in the title of the video. That's the subject, jackass. Mixing bowl in the title of the video. That other people have other perspectives on life, yeah, wrong ones, and other ideas than you, yeah, because they're stupid cunts like you. Honestly, I think you are just wasting yourself by maintaining this negativity in every single video you make. Whatever, that's your paraphrase. The negativity is an expression of a facts, okay? The facts are that people suck. You're narrow-minded simpletons. You don't have anything to qualify your opinion. You don't spend any time thinking about any of this crap. You can't even read the title of the fucking videos. Alright, so I mean, you demonstrate all the time that you haven't given this any thought. I think. You don't think. You spend this much time, and that's, oh, I thought about it. No, you didn't think about it. You stupid shit. So anyway, every single video you make, even though a few find it entertaining. So again, your argument is that the people listening to this negativity are entertained by it. Well, whatever. That's your opinion. And it really can't matter to me one way or the other. All I'm trying to do is do my best, which is make my arguments. And that's what I've done. And assholes like you misparaphrase them, misunderstand them, and they can't even read the titles of the fucking videos. So fuck you. You're the criminal here, shit for brain. Useless shit for brain. Time-wasting shit for brain. So fuck off. I mean, I can only ask you politely, how many times will you ever extend me the courtesy of me saying, just fuck off, asshole. You're not going to give me anything. You're not going to help me in any way. So what good are you? You're wasting my time. I have to personally educate you on title reading? Shithead? That's a waste of my time. So why don't you just fuck off? Thank you very much. Jesus. So anyway, rendering the what the fuck video, which pretty much sucks. But anyway, yeah, I've been in a little bit of a mood. Everything's not, there's a lot of shit going down around, people and things, and lots of not good stuff, and then my back went bad, and it's just been, but no point in doing that personal complaining thing, because none of you have any power to do anything anyway. I have no power to fix other people's problems, and it's all quite horrible. The whole dilemma is just awful. Awful. And people just keep recklessly pregoing. I had one visit me this week, a prego. It's like, I can't, just, I could tell her jokingly that, well, if you were my bitch, I'd be pushing you down the stairs. I mean, I did say that. Just keep trying to give them every indication that what you're doing is goddamn evil, but their people are just really fucking dumb. Insensitive, sadistically selfish. I mean, you can't even call it anything else. I mean, sadistically selfish. You can't not know these little numbers. You just spend just a tiny amount of time thinking about having kids, and you start realizing things like, oh, I have to make all kinds of decisions, and what if? As soon as you do start with the what if stuff. What if it gets? What if it has? What if this? Oh man! And then the easy one is, it's going to die. It might get some success and then have horrible, dismal failure. It's gonna know what it is to have it, maybe. Maybe it's gonna actually grab something that's really valuable and be something. And then all of that's gonna slip through its fingers. It's gonna be a champion, and then it's just gonna get too old to be a champion. And then where's it gonna be? I mean, the whole thing is just horrible. I mean, if it tastes victory, it's got farther to fall. How's that winning? These are just horrible, stupid fucking cunts. An appropriate use of the word cunt in this case, because yes, it's the bitches is the ones that get pregnant. And I think certainly if men got pregnant, there'd be a lot less kids in the world. Yeah, I think so. Because, at least they're sensible and enough not to say, well, I'm going to just, jump on a fucking, I don't even know what to call it. What do you even call pregnancy as a thing? I mean, it's just so horrid. For many women anyway, most. It's like just, oh yeah, I'm just going to catch cancer for the fun of it. Yuck. Crazy. So anyway.